Welcome back behind the velvet rope. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined back by the one and only Psychic Raquel.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fabulous today. Welcome to almost summer.
Do we have good energy here in June? Is this supposed to be a month of good energy?
I feel like June is about transformation and change. As first off, we're changing seasons. We're going into something incredibly new. It's a little anxieting right now because I feel like so many people are changing so much that there's a lot of daunting energy going around. But I feel like if everyone remains focused and stays present on what they're doing today, tomorrow will come. But so many people are planning so many things right now that I feel like everyone's exhausted with anxiety. We're just tired. So let's just take a minute, take a breath and it's going to be fine. This month is supposed to be transformative. It's a transition, it's a change. And I feel like there's going to be so much energy that's going to radiate positive movement, especially coming through July and August. Yes, we are going to come into another retrograde, but I don't feel like it's going to be as foul as the one we've had earlier this year. So let's just go ahead and stay in the present moment. Let's not prepare for it. Let's just you know, sometimes we gotta, what does it turn into the curve? Just let it happen.
My whole goal in life is to just live in the present moment. Like, I am never going to be that person that's careless and I'm so in the present that, like, I don't plan for tomorrow. It's really just the opposite. I plan for 10 years from now. I'm planning for 30 years from now. So I have really gotten better as I've gotten older to just stay in the moment, David. Just, right? Because otherwise it's anxiety. You're like, all these things you worry about don't actually happen.
Yeah, and excitement and anxiety, I feel like we talked about this before, they run on the same energetic plane. So it's just a slight variable. Am I excited about it or am I anxious about it? And if we actually just like say, you know what, it doesn't matter because we have it planned, now let's just go ahead and enjoy now. Because if we're constantly planning for what we're going to do tomorrow when we're on vacation, we're not enjoying the vacation. And you know what, honestly, life is going to need to be treated like a vacation some days. And we need to make sure that we prioritize a day that is like a vacation. We always look forward to the spa days or these days or this day. What about just life days? We just live. It's not easy, but if we can focus a day where we just are present, then we just look forward to the next present day. So instead of planning for the next present day, because I feel like now we're just like playing on stuff, we just kind of focus on one day. And then we get excited about an idea of being able to do it again. I think that's what it is. Let's get excited about being present. Let's
I am excited about being present because I'm here with you.
stay.
Now, let's talk about these two individuals and what we're seeing for them. Their names are Todd and Julie Chrisley. Now, we could
Mhm.
take them separate, we could do it together. Before I give you too many facts, I mean, they are public figures. You might have heard about some stuff about them recently.
Mhm. Not too much recently. I have seen like just like promos for their shows here and there when I drive through Calabasas or something like that. But then they kind of like fell off the radar. But the energy I get from them is not, I'd say, the most positive impact type people. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're very, it's like a cubic zirconium. Beautiful to look at, can pass off as gold, but it's fake. I feel like there's so many different layers to both of them, and I feel like we have to kind of look at them together because they are a partnership. I don't feel like one does well without the other, and they're in it together. So that's one thing I will say about them is they're like, we're in this together. Um, do they trust each other? Not at all. Not at all. I feel like they're both packed and ready to, in a way, roll on each other if they need to. But the thing is, though, is they don't, how do I say this? They don't evolve, they adapt.
What do you
Okay.
mean by that? I
It
mean,
means that when you just adapt to something, there's something different about adapting. You're like, okay, so evolving is understanding that what you can do better and make that transition. Adapting is that I don't like cantaloupe, but cantaloupe's the only food available here. I'm just going to grin and bear it till something new comes on. I'm not changing my palate. I'm not growing in it. I'm just eating what I have until something better comes on. So it's always like they adapt. They move, but they move in a certain way of it feels like it looks like grace, but there's like so much orchestrated in the background. And I do feel like a lot of it has to do with greed. I feel like almost like hidden money, almost like Scrooge McDuck type feeling here, where it's like hidden behind a vault, and we're just like, how do we, let's beautiful smile, put a good face forward. But then I feel like so much anxiety in their group because it's not just the two of them this affects, it affects others around them too as well. And I don't feel like there's been any type of remorse for any problematic things they've done. They are just trying to take what they've been given, which I feel like is almost like a clean slate, which makes me very anxious because that doesn't facilitate progress with them. Some people, clean slate is everything. For them, it's just a way for them to dive upward. You know what I mean? Like it's like climbing. You know, I don't like to talk bad about anything, but this feels like almost like ritualistic. Like I'm just like, all I get from them is like anxious. They don't trust anybody, but they know what they want. They're partnered together because I feel like they are very like-minded individuals, you know? Um, and I also feel like they don't, they also don't mind staring at themselves when they pass a mirror. They're very, it's a lot of vanity. What's up here because there's a lot of money involved, but there's also like a huge thing where I feel like something just happened where a lot of people are upset about it. Like I'd say like 90% of people would be upset about it if you ask them on the street. 2% doesn't give a crap. And then the other 8% are just like adoring people who just like adore them. It's almost cult-like. Does that make sense? It's
That
weird.
makes sense. It's really weird because I did a show on this myself the other day. I'll tell you what's going on with them. And
Yeah.
like, I really, like, I don't know. I'm one of these people who I do, even though maybe I don't live in the present, I take each situation for like the present. So, like, okay, look, if you're my family or you're in my inner circle, I will always be loyal to you. Fine. But short of that, based on these reality TV people, I could have a problem with you one day and love you the next. What has happened is I've talked about this, and so I find that people's stance on this with them is actually turning political, and it to me has nothing to do with politics. I'm kind of shocked. So they were basically found guilty in the past. You say a lot of money. They were found guilty of conspiracy to defraud community banks. They were found guilty of defrauding the IRS and of tax evasion. So they were each, Todd and Julie, married. They have children. They were sentenced to jail. They were in jail. Todd got 12 years. Julie got 7 years. They have now served 2.5 years each, and they were pardoned by President Trump. Now, I understand how now maybe that's political. To me, it doesn't, whatever the reason is, like I take it as face value, right? Like, so people I find that are thrilled with them are pro Trump, and people that are against this pardon are anti Trump. I never really saw it that way. I just saw it as two reality TV stars that are being pardoned. Yes, they are huge Trump supporters. I didn't make this political. It's not political for me. But I just think to answer that based on if you go on the street and who's in favor of it versus not based on the comments I've gotten, it's like based on your political affiliations, which I'm like, I have never thought of that. I
What
just feel
about the community centers they stole, community banks they stole from? You know what I mean? Like I feel like that to me is the rupture of like you defrauded people. You know what I mean?
and you get a
Well,
sense that they did something because
they
they stand by the fact that they are
no, they
innocent.
totally did it. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like this has, to me, this has nothing to do with political. I can give a crap if they were pardoned by somebody else.
Me too.
My thing is why were they pardoned? Because it doesn't make any sense to me because they did a crime. People who have done tax evasion, yes, they've gone to jail. Personally, I'm not really, I'm like, okay, cool, like whatever, due process, they did their time, whatever. But I'm talking about the community. You know what I mean? Like the fact that they had no problem defunding, like, or trying to defraud banks in communities. Like to me, that's like the biggest chromatic blow with everything. And I feel like yes, there's so that makes sense why like so many people don't like him because of the political aspect. But if we just take politics out of everything right now, these are two individuals who are not afraid to steal from the poor. These are individuals who are not afraid to steal from other people to make themselves happy. And I just feel like we have to be looking at this on a very spiritual negligent area, which is why they give me so much anxiety. And I hate the idea that they're adapting because adapting, we don't make we're not making better individuals, we're making smarter criminals. Does that make sense? Because that's where, like I said, tax evasion, I'm like, okay, whatever, people, I'm not too upset about that. It's more about the people that they claim they didn't defund, which I, or like not defund, it's not the right word, but you know what I mean, defraud. There it is.
Yeah.
Had a D and an F in it. It's fine.
It's
Um,
same thing.
same thing. But I do feel like in this particular case, I feel like they were found guilty. Like that's the guilt I'm looking at because Spirit really doesn't, IRS, whatever, like they're not they're more about people focused. And if we're just looking at people focused, I feel like they just are going to use this to round up more, but they're not helping people.
And you right, you get a sense of because like now that they're out, yes, they are like we were, unjustly, the forces came against us. You get no sense of innocence.
I get no sense of innocence and I get no sense of remorse. I feel like that's the thing that gets me so like like emotionally disturbed, because right now my gut is just telling me that this is like exhausting and you know, we could be happy for anybody getting out of being taken out of jail, but if they were did something wrong, you know what I mean? They were convicted on evidence. I don't feel like these were trumped up charges. I feel like these were looked at cases. These people are very powerful. They have a lot of money. They would have been able to get off, but they didn't. I don't feel like they were like made examples of. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't feel like
Yeah.
they were scapegoats. I feel like they got
Right.
caught. And I feel like this is really okay, cool. They got pardoned, could have been pardoned by anybody. But if I saw like, okay, they were pardoned, but they're going to do something good with themselves. They're going to start up charities. They're going to give back to what they stole from. That type of improvement is improvement. That's growth. This is adaptability. I wish
Right.
I saw positive in it because, I love to see the positive in people. You know what I mean? And, but even the families are a little rift. That the family doesn't like the family. When I say family, I get super anxious. Like I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around things. Did something happen? Did someone try to take over something or like
Well, so they both
work
went.
through it?
Well, maybe, and I'm just saying, maybe you can continue too. I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
Oh no, no, it's fine.
their oldest daughter. So there's two old. There's well, let me back up. There's two kids that are not on the reality show because maybe, as you say, they're not as pretty to look at. I mean, I'm being facetious, but not really. One of them did have drug issues. The other one, there's two kids that are not on the
Okay,
reality show. Then
got it.
there's a older son and a daughter, like they're graduated from college. Then there's a younger son that's in college, and there's a baby girl, but who's not really theirs. It's their son's, their oldest son who's not on the reality show. It's his daughter. But the oldest daughter took over and was basically got in custody of the young girl who's her brother's child and their child that was in high school that's now in college. So maybe that's what you mean by. So she basically, look, she was 20 something, she is 20 something or 30 something, but she gave up her life, so to speak, to help raise these kids. I mean, granted, they were only gone
Got
for two
it.
and a half years. Maybe
Okay,
that's
that could
what
be
it
what I
is,
was,
or is
that's probably what I was picking up a little bit of like the external rifts of things that are going on. And I feel like I should have had a notebook on that one. That family sounds just as messed up as my family history, which you also have to take notes on. But it's
seriously.
hilarious. We all got stuffs, but like this, I definitely feel like there is like a lot of like resentment in some of these areas. The kids who are kind of left off to the side who, yeah, did go into drugs and stuff like that, who are, I feel, I keep hearing recovery with the oldest one, so that's yay, positive on that. I like the idea of recovery. I do feel like they're trying to get better and stuff like that. But I don't feel a relationship with the parents. I don't feel a relationship with the parents of the other one either, but I also feel like they're also dealing with rehab too as well because I'm picking up those two ones especially. Well, the first one you said, but the second one also, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
really?
And yeah, I just feel rehab, which is great because like they're trying to make themselves better. If you put yourself there, it means you want to do something better. You know what I mean? And I feel like they're just trying to facilitate a life outside of the public. I don't feel like they want to be publicized. I don't feel like they want to be polarized. So I know that they're not trying to steal anything out of this. Um, the ones that there is one of the daughters who was on the show wants to be a star of it, wants to be part of a movement of it, wants to make things happen. And so there's a little bit of drama going on there with publicity between everything because I think she thought that now she can be solo in the spotlight. And now it's shared again. And it's kind of been their parents being released kind of game changes up the whole show because the show's going to come back. This is going to come back to a reality thing. And it's going to be the family, except for obviously not the ones that have been shunned, but they've also pulled themselves away. And then the daughter who's kind of given up everything to raise the child and do the family, you know, there's a lot of resentment there too as well because I feel like she's the only one that feels responsible. Like here she is taking care of things, and I feel like it's such a heavy weight to stop and take care of people at such a young age when it's not something that you know, created. She's grateful, but she's resentful because she doesn't feel gratitude.
Interesting. I mean, the father is very overpowering in the family. Like, it's his show. So it,
Oh, that
yeah.
makes sense.
So in a way, it was about, look at the daughter, and you say that she's like kind of in the spotlight. Like, listen, she was when they were away. Like, she does a lot now of what Kim Kardashian does. Like, she's really into prison reform and like,
Okay.
freeing people that are unjustly jailed, which in her sense, she says her parents, I know you see differently, but so like she's really been, she's very vocal about this. Like she had meetings with the president. She was very vocal in the campaign. So obviously that's why they got pardons, but I mean, we don't need to get into that. But and mind you, a lot of people are, because you say I know in LA it's different, but like a lot of people are thrilled that they're pardoned just because they are a huge Trump supporter. So it's kind of like, I'm okay be a huge Trump supporter. I don't talk about politics. People think they know my politics. They have no idea. But it's almost like I don't see what that has to do with it. I understand they're probably pardoned because they are huge Trump supporters. That makes sense. You're not going to pardon someone that's not. Biden did the same thing. It's just more like, well, that's never really factored into it for me. It's just you did the crime. So whether you're, but believe it or not, there's a lot of people that are thrilled that they're out because they're such treats. So I mean, it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. No,
But
absolutely.
she was in the public eye, very front and center while they were in jail. And yeah,
Okay.
now maybe there is this power struggle, like you say, that the father's out and it's his way always.
No, I feel like that's just it. I feel like now it's like relinquishing control when you had a taste of it and you had a taste of this. And I think that I feel like there are people who are falsely imprisoned every day. Absolutely. I feel like that's amazing work to go out there and actually find out the people who are the real villains and who are the people who are the scapegoats. That happens because listen, error is human, right? People make mistakes, you know? But I do feel like this was a really great, like, for her, it was an opportunity to like showcase herself as like a solo star. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And now it's back down to you've just been demoted. You know what I mean? It's the person that
Yeah.
came back from maternity leave is now back to take their spot back, and you have to go back to the work you're already doing. But you're like, you had the taste for the work. Not saying people coming back from maternity leave is a bad thing at all, but I'm just using it as an example. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, it's definitely not apples and apples here, but I'm just saying that once you have a taste of it, there's a freedom in it. And I feel like now it's like no longer there, even though she's happy as like a person because she does love her father and you know what I mean? But she also is now like, okay, now there's like a little bit of a struggle here. And it's just there's not a weight lifted. Does that make sense? Like it's not a weight lifted. Now it's like, okay, what are we gonna do here? You know?
What are we going to do here? And you don't feel that because look, prison is supposed to be for punishment and also to learn, to come out a different person. Now, granted, they were only in there for 2.5 years, but that's enough sometimes. But like for instance, if something happened to me and, I live my life like this anyway, like I'm very appreciative, even though I may not live in the moment and I plan for the future, I am very appreciative that I'm very healthy today. Like I really do wake up very appreciative every day. So if I were in jail for 2.5 years and I was sitting there on a Monday and I thought I was going to be there for another 9.5 years, I can't even imagine that. And someone knocked on my door and said, "Get your things and go to the front desk and you're goodbye, have a nice life." I would be like, "Wait, the next 9.5 years, I thought this was I'm out." I would be kissing the ground. I would literally lay down on a train track and kiss the ground. You don't feel any of that appreciation from Todd or Julie.
I feel like they felt like they deserve to be released. I don't feel like too much relief. I feel like I guess the major thing is yes, I feel like if we're looking at it from like a human perspective, I feel like yeah, they're definitely grateful to be out, but they also expected to be out, so bags were definitely packed. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you bags were packed. We're like, "Oh, there was promises made. We're just waiting for those promises to come forward." So they knew they weren't going to be there the entire time. I don't feel like they went into this no, like I feel like they knew that they would get out early at some point. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So to me, they weren't considering the 9 years. They were just like waiting, bags packed. I feel like I don't, you know what I mean? They settled in. Obviously, 2.5 years is 2.5 years. Um, but I also feel like there was just plans on how to sensationalize things when they got out. You know what I mean? Like it was like, okay, we have this time. Let's figure this out. You know what I mean? How do we make this big? And from a professional standpoint, I definitely can see where, like, if we're going to do marketing and things like that, you know what I mean? There's nothing better than people being pardoned and released and vindicated. And it's a story that we've watched movies on for 100 years. You know what I mean? So movie making. So it's just it's a plot line. I just wish it
Yes.
wasn't a plot line. I wish it was more like, now we're going to go out and service our community. And hopefully maybe they'll read this and be like, okay, or listen to this, read this. Maybe, I don't know. Is there transcripts? They'll listen to this and they'll be like, okay, maybe we should give back or, you know what I mean? Or just show some humility or like humble nature of it. I just, that's what I hope for. And that's what I send them, encouragement for humble natures. Because you know who I am. I don't like to be negative, but I just wish I saw that as opposed to this being just an opportunity to rebound.
Well, Todd has been doing, I think he's done 10, 15, 20 press conferences already. He says things like, I want everyone to know as a white man, I was treated way better than the other black people
Hmm.
that were in. So he's saying things, but I agree. He did then if with the first video he posted, he said, "Look how jacked I am. I'm jacked from being in prison." And then he went to Nordstrom and said, basically, "Where's the cashmere?" Not those exact words, but he was in Nordstrom. I mean, listen, if you're going to do it, I understand maybe you need some clothes, but there's a posting. Why are you posting about your shopping trip to Nordstrom? I don't know. Right?
No,
That just
I understand. Like
screams
I
something in me.
get I like that they're, that he is like, look, here we're gonna do some type of public thing. So I don't just look like a privileged white person being let out. You know what I mean? And being like, oh, I was treated way differently. You know what I mean? But he was also went in there as a known individual. You're gonna get treated different anyway. Look at Al Capone. Al Capone didn't have to go shopping for cashmere. He had a cashmere blanket in his cell at Penn State. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it's just what it is. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just his way of saying, look, I'm still on top. Nordstrom's is fabulous. I love Nordstrom's. It's a great way. Maybe they're going to the twice annual sale. I don't know. They got out just in time for a sale. Uh,
Maybe.
maybe, you know what I mean? So yeah, they're taking advantage of those prices. But I just hope them all the luck on it, but I just wish I saw more of a growth than I do of an adaptability. And now we're going to make the masses. You know what I mean?
What about this is my last question, and we can move on.
Hey,
What about because I'm starting to see things now. I'm just making this up, so there's no
that
substance to this.
do it.
But
Let's go.
so like Todd's doing all these press conferences, he's already Botoxed and looking like now Julie, they did sneak a picture of her going to the butcher. We're used to seeing her with blonde hair. She doesn't have blonde hair because it was the first day out. She hasn't left the home because her son's daughter, which they've adopted, the one with the is in
Yeah.
recovery, she's like, I don't want to leave the kids. So we haven't heard anything from Julie, which Julie's always been, subpar, like quiet in that media. But like, is there any chance, because you say they're in this together, and I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. Like, you see them in this together, you don't see any like crack of like, listen, they've been married 30 years. So chances are they are in this together. But is there any chance that Julie herself has changed and this marriage might be in trouble? Maybe not. I mean, I don't want to because
I
there's nothing that leads anyone to think that. I just have this crazy idea in my head now.
No, 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 but it's completely understandable after what they've been through and stuff like that in the trial, and her being a little bit more submissive in that type of area. The thing is, though, is that once again, they went in as a partnership. They went into jail as partners. They went into a lot of their life as partners. I don't see her going anywhere. I do feel like her thing is, I do feel like, yeah, she does want to be home with the family, but let's also face it, who wants to be seen with prison hair? She's not
Yes.
she's not going to be on, the end page. She's going to be on the end cap of a grocery store. You know what I mean? So I totally get it. Like I mean, I maybe from that standpoint of the way that she will be butchered by people because people are just going to do people and people can be very, rude and things like that. Um, but at the same time, I do feel like she is excited to be home and get she's exhausted. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She needs a minute, but she also needs her hair and makeup done. You know what I mean? So, but I don't
Yes.
see a rift because I feel like she knows who he is. Like I told you, they don't trust
Yeah.
each other. They have their bag of ammunition on each other. You know what I mean? This is a business. Marriage is a business. And so we stick to marriage as a business. And so I don't see divorce because of those reasons. And it makes, um, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like with her, it's just she's got now if I read them separately, he's got the whole plan and the into plan of actions. You know what I mean? She's just in the getaway car. She's like, I'm riding with you through this.
Which is where she's always been, you know?
So I don't see that this is something that will change because that's just not who she is. It's just part of her like foundational thing. And also I just feel like that type of scandal would not be good for the fam, which is why a lot of the other scandals are kind of like hidden and buried, and we are this like, look at our perfect family. Like I mean, I've never seen the show. I've never heard either one of them speak, but I've seen the billboards. They seem like this, like, here's what clean counters look like. You know what I mean? Like the non-lived in home, but the non-lived in home.
They're
You
like the Southern Christian
There it is.
church-going version of the Kardashians.
So they can't get divorced. Divorce,
That
you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just feel like they to uphold that type of version of themselves, there's certain things that they can like I said, it's a business. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
yes, Christians do get divorced and they it just happens. You know what I mean? I remember like a line in one movie. It's like, oh, that's what the Protestants do because like, Catholics don't do it. But yeah, but I feel like they, in order to stay on that arc, because Kardashians have their own thing. That was their part of like their Southern charm and the crosses and things. And divorce is just would be a very dramatic thing. It'd be a great take on it, but I feel like they're gonna come out together and still go back to power. Is like let's get back to power. It's business. It's
That makes
transactional.
sense. That makes sense. I just saw
It
like,
breaks my
I
heart.
this is why I'm not married because everything else in my life is a business. I don't want a marriage that's a business, but I get it. No judgment to anyone that's married.
Oh, no, 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 no. Marriage isn't always a business. Don't get me wrong. There are businesses that are marriages. There's marriages that are handled like business. And there are people who just literally just like to laugh and joke around. And I like when someone calls a good marriage is a slutty slumber party. You know what
It's
I mean? And
true.
I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I feel like those are the greatest ideas of marriage, but marriage is still hard and it's a lot of work because no matter what, we're two individuals. We're not one. We are two different people with two different ideas and very complex emotions. And if we don't know how to adapt to each other, that's where we adapt. That's adaptability to be able to be like, I'm going to release that part of myself so that they can be comfortable because it wasn't serving me either. So yeah, it's compromise. But
It
and
is
growth, I guess it's
compromise.
compromise. That's what it is. So if you don't want to compromise, don't get married. That's absolutely wonderful too. I applaud people who stay single or go through their relationships and they're just honest. And being honest is like the narrative of everything. Just be honest with who you are. Because if you go into a place fake, you have to be that fake forever.
I agree. I am very, very in tune with myself. Like I know myself at
Love
this
it.
point. And I like look back at like my 20s. I'm like, God, I did so many things that just weren't me. Because we all do that, right? And then your 30s, and then you just get to a point where you're like, I just know myself. So I'm going to say no to the following 12 things that you've asked me to do or invited me to, because I know these are just not right for me, you, this relationship. I just know.
I
That's
love it.
good, right?
That
Just
type of honesty with
honesty.
yourself. It is honest. It's being self-honest. It's being self-aware. And there are things that we don't need to complicate in ourselves. Right now is so complicated with everything going on. We're rushing from here to here to here to here. And then I'm going to go rush to something and I'll be there if it's like someone's birthday and stuff like that. I'll make an exception and be like, I don't enjoy
Yes,
it, but I'll do it because I love the person and I just want to spend time with that person as a closeness and enjoy the evening. It might be doing something I don't enjoy, but I'll make that sacrifice for the evening. But I'm not just going to go do it on a random Tuesday with just anybody. You know what I mean? Like there's
totally.
people that we're like, I will do that for you. Because they will do that for us. Trust me,
Totally.
hobbies are weird. I don't, you know what I mean? Like my bachelorette was on the Queen Mary. Not a lot of my friends were very thrilled about staying on the most haunted place on the, Western Seaboard. You know what I mean? So it's like, but at the same time, they did it for me because they know me and they love me. So I feel like that's that. But I know who I am now. And I've also learned the value of no. Like I heard you say no to a dozen things. No is, everything
It's
because
everything.
it's everything. It's a full sentence. I love whoever said that. It was amazing. That
I
was
say that all the time. I
love it.
because I never used to. I yes, totally. I just went to a friend's pickleball birthday party in April, and it was just like a Saturday, and I didn't want to go, and I'm like, this is just not my scene. But yes, very good friend never would miss my birthday, and I'm like, David, shut the fuck up. Is this for 3 hours? You can't go over. I was in New York. The thing was in New York. Give me a break. But I went, and there's all sorts of other people. I'm like, I'm just not in the mood. But yeah, so I do things, but I never used to say no. I used to say yes. And I just like you when you learn no is a full sentence, you're like, life is so beautiful.
It's such a weight off your shoulders. Like, isn't it? Like it's just like that's how I feel like you've successfully grown up as a human is to learn how to use no appropriately and properly and know when to stand up for yourself and to be your own advocate in everything you do, whether it's medical or social or business, being your own advocate and expressing the way that you feel. And I feel like if you can accept the way you feel and notice that people may not accept it, if they don't accept who you are, then I'm sorry, I don't accept your presence in my life anymore. Be blessed, but be gone. That's like my motto on
Correct.
that, you know?
Correct. Because it's like, I've said this, I don't know if I said this with you, but it is true. I don't get mad at people. It's not like I hold myself to a higher standard. I say no, period. It's a full sentence. You're now mad. And so you're now making me feel a certain way for being honest, which I call gaslighting. Some people say that's the wrong definition of the term gaslighting. But regardless of what you call it, I'm not upset. I'm just saying, no, we don't have a problem. You're now upset. And you're not making me feel a certain way for really being honest and true and authentic to myself. Well, now I kind of have a problem with you, which I really don't, but I'm also not going to do this just to make you feel good.
Absolutely. I feel like this
Right?
whole conversation was so cathartic because it's such an important lesson to learn about maturity and growth in oneself and knowing one's values. And I feel like that goes back to everything with the Chrisleys and everything we were talking about with them and about growth and humble. Saying no is humble to ourselves. That is respecting and honoring ourselves. And that is everything. And I feel like it's not something that we cram down people's throat because we're trained to be nice to people and be acquired to people and service things that we don't want to do. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like learning at a young age, I was bullied a lot. So like
Me too.
and then you get to a point where like I was either too fat or I was too skinny. I was too fat, so I was a fat cheerleader, and I lost a lot of weight and worked my butt off. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, you're a tweaker." Obviously, this is the 90s because tweaker is one of those terms from the 90s. And I was like, I can't, no, F all y'all. And so that's what I did. And so I learned that if I'm not truly who I'm gonna be, then I'm not gonna be happy. So I learned that young, thank goodness, at like 15, and have played in
Really?
my
That's
lives
really
where, oh,
good.
well, you have to when you know what I mean, when you don't have any other option but to really just no matter what you do, you're someone's going to say something about you. And
Yes.
so, but I will say though, no didn't hit me until about 3 years ago. So I was like hitting into my
See?
40s when I learned no because I'm a people pleaser. I'm an empath. I love making people happy, but I
Me
also
too.
realized it wasn't, but I was making
But
big
then you're not happy. So it's
exactly
like,
because you're exhausted and you overextend yourself and you hyperextend yourself for people who are not going to make you happy. And then I learned I can say yes to people that I know will say yes to me in the same situation. And I sideline the people that will not do that. If you're not going to operate in this like beautiful symbiotic relationship with me, which I feel like I have a lot to offer as a friend, but I also have a lot to offer to myself. It's balance. It's everything. It's, yeah, I know. We went on a complete tangent again,
no,
but
listen,
it's so fun.
I could, it relates because now, I mean, yes, I could talk about that stuff all day, but, okay, so let's do this person.
Yes,
We'll be
please.
by the time we're done, we'll be done because we have two interesting stories today, but
That's good.
Teresa Giudice, I don't know if you and
Yes,
I have talked about her before. I feel like we have. I know I did with
deal.
Psychic Robin. Like, before I get into some things that are happening with her, what vibes are you getting?
Anxious, anxiety, a lot of wondering where things are. Everything is trying to refocus. It's like she's really trying to safeguard her investments and safeguard her future and safeguard her trajectory. I feel like everything is kind of on hold now, and I feel like I'm submerged with a scuba tank that's running out of oxygen. I
Interesting.
can't breathe with her right now. Like I feel really like I have options. I can do things, but I have to wait and sit still until they actually send down that other tank so that I can come up slowly and re-rise again. But everything is like frozen with her right now. Like everything is like nothing's moving right now. Everything is like stuck. So I feel like she's trying to safeguard her future. But right now I feel like I'm like waiting. I feel like the waiting room, but it's also like the waiting room that's going to tell you whether you have cancer or not. You know what I mean? Like it's like a big deal. So what's up here? Because I'm like, I can't breathe.
Well, there's two things with her. There's her personal life and finances and the show. So she's on the show, Real Housewives of New Jersey. So the show, look, she has fallen out with these two people, Melissa and Margaret. One of them is her sister-in-law. It's really neither here nor there. Last season, she didn't speak to this woman, Melissa, at all for the whole, like if this was on camera. Imagine there was 8 people and you film an entire reality show and they didn't speak. The show ended. The network is like, this just doesn't work. Sorry. She has said, I will never speak to Melissa again, ever. It's over. And the network's like, okay, well, the whole damn show is paused. Now, in a way, a compliment to her, because if they really could just say, screw you, we're going to go on without you. That was in August, September, October, November. This was last year,
Oh my
2024.
God.
Yes, she said, I will never speak to, and they said, look, it's this show is not coming back in 2025. So nobody really knows what the plan is. So she is gone from I will never speak to Melissa again, January, February, March, April. She's still saying this. May. Now we have this event. It's called BravoCon coming up. It's a whole thing. She's going. This woman, Margaret, she doesn't speak to, is going. Melissa and this other woman, Dolores. Well, just last week said she'll never speak to Melissa again. Now she was just asked, would you come back with the whole cast? Like, would you come back if Melissa comes back? And she's saying yes. So now, like, it seems, I mean, was this the network's plan? Because, I had lots of theories when this was paused. Everyone said it's Melissa or Teresa. Is Melissa going to come back or Teresa? Let's choose one. And it shows, I mean, was this the plan of the network all along to just listen? By the way, she also made around probably $2 million. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just taking a guess. So you can say, I'm never going to do something. Well, we're a year later. Eventually, one day you wake up and never becomes never, but maybe, right? Was this the network's
Safeguarding her
plan?
future. Safeguarding her future. Was this a network's plan? I do believe so. I feel like this was definitely something that they held on strongly to because the show comes back stronger with all 8 of them. If it comes back with one not there, it's a risk. So was this a publicity strong stunt from the get-go? No. This was real hatred for each other. They are exhausted because here's the thing is like we can hate each other but we can also make a couple $1 million. A couple $1 million is a couple $1 million. I'm just saying, if I had to be in a room with a person that I completely despise for like, a couple months and shoot a show, people do it all the time. And you smile and nod and you leave and you close off your energy. So I feel like this was orchestrated by, I feel like this, yeah, they were like, you know what? We'll bring the show back. The show is coming back. It's coming back with all of them, you know? And it's going to be very interesting to see the way they're able to accommodate a smile. Like I would be like, I've never watched this show, I've never seen the show, but I would be very interested to watch the episode. And I feel like that's exactly what the network wants. They want people to be like, how are they going to come back together? Are they going to continue to ignore each other? Are they not? It's the biggest year-long cliffhanger anyone's ever had, and this couldn't be more epic as a marketing ploy than ever. And they just kind of waited for her to cool off, calm down, and we're going to come back with a bang. This is a very good investment. The holding the breath, waiting for that type of thing is I really feel like she's waiting to hear the contracts, waiting to get things moving. She said yes, but now it's like I need the fresh air tank. You know what I mean? Like what am I going to be expected to do? And as we talked about before, being authentic to yourself is everything. That does not happen to be for reality TV. So how am I going to pull off on unauthentic? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of like the big struggle too, because who is going to submit? That's the other big one.
It's like a power struggle.
It is like who's going to submit? Who's going to tap out? And that's kind of the biggest thing ever. But I will tell you that, oh, I can finally breathe again because she's finally released it. I feel like once things get going and she sees how easy it is to be deceptive in that narrative for paycheck, oh, it's gold.
Because because they've I should also tell you this has been going on for like a decade. So they've done this before. Like I mean years ago, maybe like 6 years.
Oh,
They've hated each other, but it never got to this point. So they fake made up back in the day. Everyone that was in the know knew that they hated each other. So
they
they've
never made
hated
it.
the
They
like
have to do better.
right. They never made up. And the difference this time is that it got so bad in the press and in reality that like the network, like, look, the network would have brought the show back if we all were dumb. If they could have fooled us, they would have done it. It's that everyone was now in on the game of like, no, this woman, Teresa hates this woman, Melissa. Like we wouldn't have bought it. So now as you know, listen, they're not even ready to do it now, but she's already softening. They're going to have to really make us believe it because the audience wants to see it, but they don't want to see it if they know it's fake.
So how do you make unauthentic real? You know what I mean? They're both going to have to go to film school. They're both going to have to go to acting
They're going to
ability.
have to.
There's so much built up resentment. So much
Decades,
resentment.
decades.
They loathe each other. Like it's not even like it's if the other person didn't exist, you know what I mean? There wouldn't be a presence at the funeral. You know what I mean? Like they would just be, oh, okay, like it's just another day. Like this person passes, like people die every day. Like that's just it. But I feel that they need to make it look reasonable. When you said they fake maked up before, I chuckled because it was so bad. It was so unauthentic that I feel like everyone saw it, but I feel like people liked it because it was so authentic. You cannot pull that again. That stunt you can do once. You can come back and do the unauthentic makeup, but people want to see growth. And as we talked about before, the Real Housewives and stuff like that is about seeing women of power and growing and growth and get through turbulent times and grow out of them. So if they can negotiate a way to make it feel authentic, that they've really sat down and grew up, they don't need to be best friends. They don't need to be friends, but they do need to be acquaintances. And they are family. I put that in air quotes.
They are.
They are family, but if they can just sit down and make it work and make it look authentic to the point where they do need to converse. they do need to choose sides that are on the same sides this time around. If they can do that, they can produce a really epic comeback. And then the show will go on for another 9, 10 seasons, 19 seasons, however long it needs to go on, as long as they can pull this off. So this is the biggest comeback, but has to be fueled with authenticity comeback.
Right, because not speaking, we already did
No,
that. I mean, that's why the show's
boring.
off. Yeah.
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. I'd rather hear see you next Tuesday all day long on the show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To each other. And it's entertainment and that sells t-shirts. Like I would definitely buy a shirt that had them yelling that at each other. It'd be great. Um,
Well, if you tune into the Real Housewives of New Jersey, you will hear "See You Next Tuesday" about 15 times per episode. So there you go.
Aw, I want to wear it on a chain around my neck. That'd be so sweet.
That could be your new chain.
I know,
Um,
I know. But yeah, so that's what I feel on those two. So wish them best of lucks because they're both very, very strong. But if they can just be do a lot of breath work, do a lot of soul searching,
just look
and
at your
just
bank account.
exactly there it is. Just look at your bank account.
I'm like you. I'm like, give me $1 million and I pick five of my enemies and put us all in a room. I will smile from ear to ear.
I will have the grandest dinner party in the world, and I'll walk away with $1 million in my pocket. I feel like
Correct.
that's understandable, and that opportunity is not something they're going to pass up. So I think they can do it. I would just, it's not going to be authentic. Can I just say that? And I'm okay with that.
I am okay with that too.
Let's be entertainers, let's be professionals, and let's go out and put on the greatest comeback and pull it off and do it with pizzazz and just grin and bear it for a little bit of time. You don't have to see each other at family functions. I don't feel like they do anyway. So, mm,
I agree with all that. We will, okay, next time we'll talk about this more.
yeah.
Chrisleys was so interesting, and I could talk to you about life stuff all the time. Everyone needs to go to the Psychic Source, download the app, go to the website, enter code Velvet, $20 for 35 minutes, 57 cents a minute. You could find Psychic Raquel. And thank you again. Sorry this went so long.
Oh no,
I
I
know you're
apologize for so
busy.
long. No, 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 no. I just
I could talk to you for hours, really. I'm
I
just
know, but I love to throw in, not intentionally, it's just the way spirit guides me sometimes. I love to throw in when we can make this like a learning episode. You know what I mean?
I would do a learning episode every episode if it were me. I've said this before, and I would like to rebrand as a self-help podcast. That is my true calling.
I will be your first guest on
Okay.
the show. I am all about it. I think it's fantastic. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Always a pleasure.
having me.
Have a
And
good
for
day.
everybody out
Stay
there listening,
cool.
oh, I know. Well, it's cool outside in LA right now,
It
which is
is.
I guess it's just June gloom. But it's so funny because we had like a little bit of lovely sun, which by the way, don't judge, don't hate. We love it. But right now it's a little cloudy, so we're gonna whine about it because that's what we do here in Southern California.
That is. But see, but being from the East Coast, I like this June gloom way better. And I like that there's no sun out, and I like that it's cold.
Well, then I hope it rains a little bit for you. It drizzled a little bit this morning.
If it rained,
Lovely.
it would be a home run.
Well, you know what? I wish that for you. And then I wish for the sun to come back again.
Okay. I wish that for you. All right. I will see you soon. Thank you. This was great. I appreciate it.
Always. Have a great one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.